The cryogenic container weighed exactly 32 kilograms. Daniel Reeve knew this because he had lifted thousands of them over 9 years of courier work, and this one felt wrong. It was too warm. It hummed against his palms like something alive. The Telluri scientist who handed it over refused to meet his eyes. Her four-fingered hands trembled as she transferred the payment. Triple the standard rate. No questions allowed. Daniel had learned long ago that questions meant complications. He loaded the container into his ship, the Persistent, and punched in the destination coordinates. An abandoned mining platform in the outer reaches. Strange, but not his problem. Hyperspace wrapped around his vessel like a familiar blanket. He had made this journey countless times. The stars stretched into lines, then vanished entirely as compressed space swallowed him whole. That was when his proximity sensors screamed. Daniel stared at the display. 3 massive signatures, moving in perfect formation behind his wake. This was impossible. Nothing could track a ship through hyperspace. Nothing could survive in compressed space without a vessel that he dropped out early, emerging near an asteroid field 3 light-years from his destination. His hands were steady as he ran every scan his aging ship could manage. The sensors showed empty space, cold rocks, distant stars, but Daniel felt eyes on him. Something ancient and patient, watching from the darkness between worlds. He shook off the feeling and jumped back into hyperspace. The signatures returned immediately, closer now. Whatever followed him was not hiding anymore. The mining platform hung dead in space when he arrived. No lights, no communication signals, no one waiting to receive the cargo they had paid so much for. Daniel docked anyway. He had a job to finish. The container's hum had grown louder during the journey. He could feel it through the deck plates, a rhythm that almost matched his own heartbeat. Against every protocol, against every instinct built over 9 years of minding his own business, he reached for the release mechanism. The space around the platform rippled. 3 shapes emerged from nothing. They were enormous, each one larger than his ship, larger than the platform itself. Scales that shifted between black and gold. Wings that should not have functioned in vacuum, but spread wide anyway. Eyes that burned with light older than most stars. Dragons. The words surfaced from childhood stories Daniel had almost forgotten. Myths from old Earth. Tales told to frighten children. Yet here they were, real and impossible and magnificent. The largest one moved closer. Its head alone was bigger than the Persistent. Heat radiated from its body, warming Daniel's hull despite the absolute zero of space. Then it spoke. The voice bypassed his ears entirely. It formed directly in his mind, ancient and heavy with patience worn thin. You carry what was stolen. Daniel's throat went dry. He could not move. He could not think. We have searched for 10,000 of your years. The egg calls to us now. Its beacon sings after so long silent. Egg. The container. The warmth that should not have been there. You did not take it, the dragon continued. You do not know what you carry, but you will lead us to the one who does. You will bring us to the thief. Daniel finally found his voice. It came out as a whisper. And if I refuse? The dragon's eyes narrowed. Something like amusement flickered across its alien features. You will not refuse. Humans are young and foolish, but you are not cruel. You would not keep a child from its mother. The 3 creatures pulled back, their massive forms fading into the darkness between stars. But the largest one left a final thought burning in Daniel's mind. 7 rotations, little courier. Bring us to the thief, or we will tear this galaxy apart to find them ourselves. And everything in our path will burn. Then they were gone. Daniel stood alone in his ship, the container humming beside him, his hands shaking for the first time in years. He had spent his entire career avoiding trouble, staying small, staying invisible. Now the oldest beings in the universe knew his name that he looked at the container, at the warmth radiating through its surface, at the gentle pulse that matched his heartbeat so perfectly. Somewhere inside, something was alive, something that belonged to creatures who had existed before the first planets formed. And someone had stolen it, hidden it, sold it through black markets for millennia. Someone had used Daniel to wake it up. He had 7 days to find out who. 7 days to deliver answers to beings who could crack worlds like eggs. Daniel sat down heavily in his pilot's chair. His routine was shattered. His quiet life was over. And somewhere in the dark, 3 dragons were counting down. Someone had erased Daniel Reeve from existence. He discovered this when he tried to dock at Callaway Station. His credentials bounced. His shipping license showed invalid. His bank accounts, 9 years of careful savings, had been emptied and closed. The automated systems did not recognize him. As far as the galaxy was concerned, he had never existed at all. Daniel talked his way past the dock security with cash he kept hidden in his boot. Old habit. Couriers learned early that systems failed and bribes worked. He made his way to the Helix shipping office, where he had worked for nearly a decade. The manager looked at him with genuine confusion. No records. No contract. No memory of ever hiring a human named Daniel Reeve. He was a ghost now. Someone had made him disappear. The container sat in his ship's cargo hold, still humming, still warm. Whatever he carried had made him a target. But a target for whom? Daniel spent the next 2 days tracking his last job backward. The Telluri scientist who had given him the container was named Vera Oshin. She had worked at a research station studying pre-galactic artifacts. She was dead now. Her laboratory had burned. The official report called it an accident. Daniel knew better that on the 3rd day, his search led him to a small shop in Callaway Station's lower levels. The sign above the door was written in a language older than most civilizations. The owner was a Vashran female, ancient and withered, her scales faded to gray. The locals called her Grandmother Scylla. She traded in information and old things. Daniel placed the container on her counter. "Tell me what this is." Grandmother Scylla's eyes went wide. Her weathered hands trembled as she reached toward the container but stopped short of touching it. "Where did you get this?" "A dead scientist gave it to me. 3 dragons are following me because of it. And someone erased my entire identity to keep me quiet." The old Vashran was silent for a long moment. Then she laughed, a dry and crackling sound. "You poor fool. You have no idea what you carry." She pulled an ancient book from beneath her counter. Its pages were made of something that was not paper, something that felt alive when Daniel touched it. The text shifted and moved, settling into a language he could read. "The cosmic WIRMS," Grandmother Scylla said. "The first intelligent species. They existed before the galaxies finished forming. They watched the stars ignite. They were ancient when the universe was young." Daniel looked at the container. "And this is their egg. One of the last. Their kind is dying. Only a few dozen remain in all of existence. They stopped breeding millions of years ago because they knew their time was ending. But this egg was stolen from them 10,000 years ago. Hidden. Passed from collector to collector. Someone activated its beacon, and now the parents have found it." The pulse inside the container seemed to grow stronger. Daniel felt it matching his heartbeat again. "Who stole it?" Grandmother Scylla shook her head. "I do not know. But whoever hired you to move it knew exactly what would happen. They wanted the dragons to wake up. They wanted them angry." Daniel thought about the scientist, Vera Oshin. She had been nervous, terrified. She had known she was going to die. "Someone is using me as bait." "Yes." Grandmother Scylla closed her book. "And when the dragons destroy everything in their path searching for the thief, someone will benefit from the chaos." Daniel looked at the container, at the warmth that should not exist, at the life that pulsed inside, alone and stolen and waiting that he should run. He should abandon the egg somewhere and disappear into the outer reaches where even dragons might not find him. But he could not. The egg had started to respond to him. Its rhythm matched his breath now, not just his heart. It knew he was there. It trusted him. "I need to find whoever did this," Daniel said. "Not because of the dragons. Because someone stole a child and used it as a weapon. That is not right." Grandmother Scylla studied him with ancient eyes. Something like respect flickered across her face. "Humans," she said softly. "So brief. So fragile. But sometimes so surprisingly stubborn." She wrote a name on a piece of old cloth and handed it to him. "Start here. A human antiquities dealer. He has been collecting dragon artifacts for centuries. If anyone knows where the egg came from, it is him." Daniel read the name. Aldrich Peld. He had 4 days left. The egg pulsed warmly against his side as he walked back to his ship. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, 3 dragons were waiting, and Daniel Reeve, a simple courier who had only wanted a quiet life, was going to find them some answers. Nexera smelled like burning circuits and desperation. The station hung in neutral space, claimed by no government, protected by no laws. Anything could be bought here. Weapons, bodies, secrets, information. Daniel had visited twice before, both times to pick up cargo he knew better than to examine. He had never stayed longer than necessary. Nexera was the kind of place that swallowed people whole, but Aldrich Pell operated from here, and Daniel was running out of time. The egg rested in a sling against his chest, hidden beneath his jacket. He could feel its warmth against his skin, its pulse steady and calm. It trusted him. That trust felt heavier than any cargo he had ever carried. He found Pell's name in the local registry. The antiquities dealer owned a shop in the upper levels, the expensive part of the station where rich collectors came to buy pieces of dead civilizations. Daniel never made it there. She came out of the crowd like a blade. Tall, lean, covered in the gray scales and sharp features of the Kathrani species. Her eyes locked onto Daniel with professional focus. "You have something that belongs to my employer," she said. Her voice was soft, almost pleasant. "Give it to me, and you can walk away." Daniel's hand moved toward the weapon at his hip. "Who is your employer?" "That is not your concern." She smiled, showing teeth that were slightly too sharp. "My name is Whisper. I am very good at my job. You do not want to make this difficult." Daniel made it difficult. He ran. The chase tore through Nexera's crowded markets. Stalls collapsed. Merchants screamed. Daniel ducked through gaps that should have been too small, his courier's instincts keeping him one step ahead. But Whisper was faster. She caught him in a docking bay, her blade pressed against his throat before he could draw his weapon. Up close, he could see the scars on her scales. Old wounds. A lifetime of violence. "The egg," she said. "Now." Daniel felt the warmth against his chest, the pulse that matched his heart, the trust that he had not earned but had been given anyway. "No." Whisper's eyes narrowed. Her blade pressed harder, drawing blood. Then she stopped. Her gaze had dropped to the glow visible through his jacket. The egg's light pulsed gently, unafraid, curious. "I know what that is," she whispered. Her voice had changed. Something old and painful had surfaced in her eyes. "I saw one before. In the museum of my homeworld. Before the collapse." Daniel did not move. "The Kathrani collapse. My people kept a dragon egg for 3,000 years. We worshipped it, protected it. Then collectors came and took it, and everything fell apart." Her blade wavered. "That egg was the heart of my world. When it was stolen, my world died." The egg pulsed warmly. Whisper stared at it like she was seeing a ghost. "Pell has been collecting dragon artifacts for centuries," she said finally. "He hired me to retrieve this one, but he did not tell me what it was. He said it was just another relic. Will you still give it to him?" Whisper was silent for a long moment. Then she lowered her blade. "Pell is not the original thief. He bought the egg 300 years ago from someone else. He has been waiting for the right moment to use it." She looked at Daniel with something like respect. "You are a courier, a nobody. Why do you care what happens to a dragon's child?" Daniel touched the warmth at his chest. "Because someone has to." Above them, the station shuddered. Alarms began to wail. Through the docking bay windows, 3 enormous shapes emerged from the darkness of space. The dragons had arrived. Their presence sent the entire station into panic. Ships launched in every direction. Weapons systems powered up and immediately shut down, overwhelmed by power they could not comprehend. The largest dragon's voice echoed through every mind on Nexera. "We grow tired of waiting, little courier. 3 rotations remain. Bring us the thief, or we will take this station apart piece by piece." Whisper grabbed Daniel's arm. "I know where Pell keeps his collection. His real collection, not the things he shows to customers. If you want answers, that is where we need to go." Daniel looked at the dragons hanging in space, patient and terrible. "Then take me there." Whisper nodded. For the first time, something like hope flickered in her scarred features. "Follow me, human, and pray your stubbornness is enough to save us all." The egg pulsed warmly against Daniel's heart as they ran toward the docking bay. 3 days left. 3 ancient gods waiting for justice. And somewhere, a thief who had no idea what was coming. Thessaly, for was paradise built on stolen bones. The garden moon orbited a gas giant in a system claimed by no government. Its surface was covered in engineered forests, crystal lakes, and architecture older than human civilization. All of it belonged to one man. Aldrich Pell had been collecting for 300 years. He had the wealth of a small empire and the patience of a predator. His estate was a museum of extinction, filled with the last pieces of civilizations that no longer existed. Daniel and Whisper arrived during a gathering of collectors. Wealthy beings from across the galaxy had come to bid on relics that should have been left buried. "Stay close," Whisper said, "and do not touch anything. Some of these artifacts are still active." They moved through the crowd in stolen finery. Daniel kept the egg hidden beneath layers of fabric, its warmth a constant reminder of why he was here. The main hall was filled with horrors displayed like art. Weapons that had ended wars. Remains of species preserved in crystal. The personal effects of dead rulers and forgotten gods. Everything had a price tag. "There." Whisper nodded toward an older human male moving through the crowd. He was tall, silver-haired, dressed in clothes that cost more than Daniel's ship. His smile was warm and practiced. Aldrich Pell. Daniel watched him charm his guests. Shake hands with murderers. Laugh at jokes told by beings who had purchased genocide. "He knows we are here," Whisper said quietly. "He always knows." Pell turned and looked directly at them. His smile never wavered. "My friends," he said, crossing the room with easy grace. "I was wondering when you would arrive." Daniel's hand moved toward his weapon. Whisper stopped him with a touch. "You hired me to retrieve something," Whisper said. "You failed to mention what it was." Pell's eyes flickered to Daniel's chest, where the egg's glow was faintly visible. Yes. I apologize for the deception, but you would not have taken the job if you knew the truth." "What truth?" Daniel demanded. Pell gestured for them to follow. They walked through the gathering, past displays of death and loss, until they reached a private chamber. The door sealed behind them. "The truth," Pell said, "is that the dragons are dying. Only 43 remain in the entire universe. They stopped breeding millions of years ago because they knew their time was over. This egg is one of the last. Perhaps the very last." He sat down in a chair that looked like a throne. His smile had not changed. "I have been collecting dragon artifacts for centuries. Scales, bones, technology they left behind. I have learned more about them than any other living being. And I have learned that whoever controls their children controls them." Daniel felt the egg pulse against his chest. Anger, fear. It could sense Pell's intentions. "You are going to auction it," Daniel said. "Sell it to the highest bidder." "Of course. The galactic powers will pay anything for leverage over the oldest beings in existence. Wars will be fought over this egg. Empires will rise and fall, and I will profit from all of it." The room shook. Outside, the sky had darkened. 3 massive shapes descended through the atmosphere, their scales glowing with barely contained fury. "They have found me," Pell said. He did not seem concerned. "I was expecting them." He pressed a control on his chair. The walls of the estate hummed with power. Outside, beams of energy lanced into the sky, striking the dragons. They roared in pain, but did not fall. "Dragon killer weapons," Pell explained. "Reverse engineered from their own technology. It took me 200 years to perfect them. They cannot break through my defenses." Daniel stared at him. "You have been planning this for centuries." "I have been planning this since before your species discovered fire." Pell's smile finally showed its true nature. "Cold, hungry, patient. Humans think small, Daniel. A lifetime, a generation. I think in centuries, in millennia. Everything that has happened, everything you have experienced, has been part of a design older than your bloodline." The dragons circled above, wounded but not defeated. Their pain echoed in Daniel's mind. The egg trembled against his chest. It was afraid. It wanted its mother. Daniel looked at Pell, at the weapons, at the collection of death that surrounded them. "You are wrong about one thing," Daniel said quietly. Pell raised an eyebrow. "Oh, humans do not think small. We just think fast." He grabbed Whisper's hand and ran for the door. Behind them, Pell's laughter echoed through the chamber. "Run if you like, little courier. There is nowhere in the galaxy where I cannot find you. And when the dragons finally break, I will be waiting." The estate shook with the force of ancient rage. The sky burned with weapons and fire, and Daniel Reeve ran toward the only hope he had left. The vault beneath Pell's estate stretched deeper than Daniel had imagined. Whisper led him through corridors lined with treasures from dead worlds. Weapons that had ended civilizations. Armor worn by beings who had become myths. Each piece represented a story that had ended badly. "He keeps the most valuable items at the lowest level," Whisper said. "If the egg is anywhere, it is there." Daniel touched his chest. The egg was still with him, hidden beneath his clothes, but Pell had mentioned moving it to a secure location. If he had a second egg, or something else connected to the dragons, it would be below. The estate shook above them. The battle between Pel's defenses and the dragons continued. Each impact sent dust raining from the ceiling. They reached the deepest chamber that it was smaller than Daniel expected. A single room, lit by soft blue light. In the center stood a containment field, shimmering with energy that made his eyes water. Inside the field was nothing. He moved it, Whisper said, or he lied about having anything else. Daniel was about to respond when the egg against his chest pulsed sharply. Heat flooded through the fabric. Light spilled between his fingers as he pulled it free. The egg was hatching. Cracks spread across its crystalline surface. Warmth poured out, filling the cold chamber. Daniel held it carefully, terrified and amazed as the shell fell away piece by piece that a small head emerged. Scales that shifted between silver and gold. Eyes that burned with ancient light. Wings no bigger than Daniel's hands, folded tight against a body the size of a small dog. The hatchling looked at Daniel and chirped that it was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. Impossible, Whisper breathed. It chose you. It could have waited for its mother, but it chose to emerge with you. The hatchling crawled up Daniel's chest and settled against his shoulder. Its warmth spread through him, and he felt something in his mind, a presence that was curious and trusting and completely unafraid. Footsteps echoed from the corridor above. Pel appeared at the chamber entrance, flanked by guards with weapons drawn. His smile was gone. His eyes were fixed on the hatchling with naked hunger. "Give it to me," he said. "Now." Daniel held the small creature closer. It chirped again, pressing against his neck. "No." Pel's expression twisted. 300 years of patience crumbling in an instant. "You have no idea what you are holding. That creature is worth more than every planet in this system combined. Give it to me, and I will let you live." The hatchling's eyes focused on Pel. Something shifted in its small body. The chirp became a growl, then it opened its mouth. Energy erupted from the tiny creature. A wave of force that threw the guards against the walls, that cracked the stone beneath their feet, that sent Pel stumbling backward with blood streaming from his nose. The hatchling had defended Daniel without hesitation. "Run," Whisper grabbed his arm. "Now." While they are stunned, they fled through the corridors, the hatchling clinging to Daniel's shoulder. Behind them, Pel's screams of rage echoed through the vault. They emerged onto the surface into chaos. The dragons had broken through the defenses. 2 of them circled the burning estate while the third, the largest, had landed in the gardens. Its body was scarred from the weapons, but not broken. Its eyes burned with fury older than stars. Pel stumbled out behind them. His fine clothes were torn. His face was bloody, but he still held a weapon, a small device that hummed with deadly energy. "Dragon killer," he spat. "One shot. Enough to end that abomination you carry." He aimed at the hatchling. Whisper moved faster than Daniel could follow. Her blade caught Pel's arm, sending the weapon spinning away. They faced each other, predator and predator, centuries of cunning against a lifetime of violence. "You can run," Whisper said. "Face the dragons, or face me. Choose." Pel looked at her, at Daniel, at the hatchling that watched him with ancient eyes in a tiny body. Then he ran as he fled into the burning gardens, disappearing into the smoke and chaos. Whisper did not follow. "The dragons will find him," she said. Eventually, Daniel walked toward the largest dragon. The hatchling chirped excitedly, stretching its small wings toward the massive creature. The mother's head lowered until her eye was level with Daniel. It was larger than his entire body. The heat from her breath washed over him like a furnace, but the hatchling showed no fear. It leaped from Daniel's shoulder, tiny wings spreading, and glided clumsily toward its mother. The dragon caught it gently, cradling the small form against scales that could crush starships, and in Daniel's mind, he felt something he had never expected from a being so vast and ancient: gratitude. Fire still rose from the ruins of Pel's estate when the mother dragon spoke. Her voice filled Daniel's mind, not with words exactly, but with meaning that formed itself into language he could understand. Ancient thoughts shaped for a human brain. "You protected our child when you had nothing to gain. You carried it against your chest and kept it warm. You stood between it and those who would harm it." Daniel stood before her, small and tired and covered in ash. The hatchling had returned to him, perched on his shoulder despite its mother's presence. It chirped contentedly, its warmth spreading through his exhausted body. I did what anyone would do, Daniel said. The mother's eye, larger than his entire ship, focused on him with something that might have been amusement. No, you did what a human would do. We have watched your species for thousands of years. You burn so quickly. You live such brief lives. But in that burning, you create light that even we cannot match. The other two dragons landed nearby. The ground shook beneath their weight. Daniel felt their attention on him, vast minds examining a creature they found genuinely interesting. We offer you a choice, Daniel Reeve. He waited. Return to your life. We will restore what was taken from you. Your identity, your accounts, your ship. You can go back to your routes and your cargo and live as if this never happened. The hatchling chirped, pressing closer against his neck. Or come with us. To our home. A place no other species has ever seen. Daniel's heart beat faster. Why would you want me there? Because we are dying. The mother's voice carried weight that pressed against his soul. Only 42 of us remain. Soon there will be fewer. And when the last of us is gone, no one will remember that we existed. No one will tell our story. She lowered her massive head until her eye was inches from Daniel's face. We need a witness. Someone to remember. Someone to write down what we were, so that when the universe finally forgets us, something of our existence will survive. Daniel thought about his ship, his routes, his empty apartment on Callaway Station. 9 years of carrying cargo from one place to another, never staying, never connecting, never matching. He thought about the egg's warmth against his chest. The trust of a creature that had chosen him for reasons he would never fully understand. Whisper stood nearby, watching. She had said nothing since the battle ended. Take my ship, Daniel told her. The persistent. She needs someone who will take care of her. Whisper's scarred face showed surprise. You are actually going? Yes. You are mad. You know that. Daniel smiled. Probably. The hatchling chirped and spread its tiny wings. Whisper stepped forward. For a moment, Daniel thought she might try to stop him. Instead, she placed her hand on his shoulder. I will tell no one where you have gone. But I will remember that a human courier chose to walk among gods. She paused. Thank you. For what you did. For all of it. Daniel nodded. Words felt inadequate. The mother dragon spread her wings. Heat washed over the ruined gardens. Are you afraid? She asked. Terrified, Daniel admitted. Good. Fear keeps small creatures alive. Something like warmth entered her ancient voice. But you do not let it stop you. That is what makes humans remarkable. She extended one massive claw, creating a platform large enough for Daniel to stand on. He stepped onto it, the hatchling still on his shoulder. The other dragons took to the sky. The mother followed, lifting Daniel above the burning estate, above the garden moon, above the system itself. They flew into deep space, past the edge of charted stars, toward a light that no telescope had ever recorded. The hatchling sang, a sound that was not quite music but filled Daniel with peace anyway. The journey took hours or days or years. Time moved differently in the spaces between spaces. Daniel watched galaxies drift past like lanterns in the dark. Finally, they arrived at a world of crystal spires and endless sky. Mountains that touched the stars. Oceans that burned with gentle fire. And dragons, dozens of them. Ancient and magnificent. The last of a species that had existed before existence itself. They welcomed the hatchling with sounds that shook the planet. They examined Daniel with curiosity and something like respect. The mother set him down on a cliff overlooking the crystal sea. This is your home now, she said. For as long as you live. When you die, we will remember you as you remember us. Daniel looked at the impossible world around him, at the creatures who had chosen him, at the hatchling that refused to leave his side. That he pulled out a small notebook, battered and worn from his years as a courier. I should start writing, he said. The mother's laughter echoed across the crystal spires, and Daniel Reeve, a simple courier who had only wanted a quiet life, began the first page of a story that would outlast the stars themselves. The first thing you should know, he wrote, is that dragons are real. And they chose a human to tell their story.